All right, we've got Steve Route with us, so I'm going to bring in Steve Route so he can get us up to date on the world news. And I know he's always got things happening in that way, and then I'll get to some other news items. But let's bring in Mr. Route. How are you doing, Steve?
Good morning, World Edition. This is Steve Rao, the host of the show. I'm only here for a few minutes because I'm actually on vacation, but I wanted to first of all, welcome you every to the show and hope everyone had a great Christmas wherever you've been, wherever you are. And as we count down to the new year, what we want to do on World Edition is start having a discussion of things to come in 2024 and maybe look back at some of the events of the year. And every day we've got time because so much happened this year. And on the show, we talk about global affairs, innovation, an ever-changing world, and in world politics, we talk about world politics and the disruption globally of what's going on with many of the standards we've known about democracy. And so we welcome you to the show. I greet you from North Carolina, the eighth largest state in the union. I will be on my phone for the next few weeks until I figure out how to get my camera fixed on my machine. But this looks a lot better than it was before on the phone. I can actually see Mark Lee. So, really, a couple of issues today. I got a few minutes with us. First of all, Mark, there was a Ukrainian, a Russian ship shot down by Ukrainians. That's interesting. I think the war in Ukraine continues. I think the name of the country was Leo. I think it starts with an L. I can't remember. If you could look that up, because I don't have my notes. Usually, I have my notes on my phone. um, but that's a blow to Russia. And speaking of Russia, Navalny they found is actually in the Arctic imprisoned. They've been looking for him since December 11th. He's still alive, but he was extradited and put away, which you wouldn't surprise, including the lady that was running against Putin. So it looks like he's anointed himself for a fifth term. Why don't they just call him a dictator rather than a president of a country? And then the other thing, before I go into my commentary, and then we're going to dive right into the show for a few minutes, at least for me. Um, you're seeing in Latin America, what's interesting is a tremendous shift. You had conservative, progressive governments in Latin America. Then you had Bolsonaro in Brazil. You've got Milei now in Argentina. We had many progressive leaders, but now it looks like progressivism and even Latin America is under attack. And even in Chile, there's been a lot of folks kind of turning against the progressive movement. So we're going to see what happens with that. Javier Milei in Argentina is really focusing on reversing a lot of the progressive policies, and their economies are really hurting there. But one light of hope is startups, and startups are on the rise in Latin America. In fact, startups doubled from 2020 to 2023, 2,500 startups, and a lot of them are in supply chain, postal services, building trust within the consumers of the economy with different kinds of software platforms that can do that. So all eyes are on Latin America as the startup community. We've talked about startups before in the show. I'll end with this as we look to 2024, and we'll do a recap of the big things. I mean, the big issue is the presidential election. Looks like it's going to be a rematch between Trump and Biden, but American people, 63% of the American population are so fed up with politics today, the division, the turbulence, the terrible things that are going on. So I don't know whether we're going to try to change that over the next few months. And with that being said, the other conversation is democracy. And you look at what's going on in war in Ukraine, you look at what's going on in Israel. Um, will the United States of America still be the place that can fund and stand for democracy when you've got the America First Republicans saying we have to defund Ukraine? And, if Ukraine is not successful, I think, we're looking at the defense systems in Asia, but China is really making a lot of investments in their defense at a faster rate than the United States, and they could invade Taiwan by 2027 or maybe sooner. So all of these things are in play, Mark, and I'm going to begin with that. Is democracy in trouble? Is American democracy drained and strained from the constant trials and tribulations of Trump? But that does not seem to bring him down to the polls. And so these are the issues that we're having. So I'm going to go ahead and let go. I did my best to set it up for you there.
No, you did a great job of setting it up. I had a couple of things that I was going to add to it. One, happy and Merry Christmas and Happy Kwanzaa. Today is the first day of Kwanzaa, and that's why I'm at the Hayti Heritage Center. They are opening up with their celebration today and all in that space. So we've got Africa Unplugged. We've got a number of other things to be going on, and there's already tables set up. So there'll be plenty of vendors here and all along those lines. So today is the first day of Kwanzaa. And of course, there are 7 principles that are part of the Kwanzaa celebration and all along those lines. And I usually butcher the first day because it's one of those that is not as easy to pronounce and all in that space. But yeah, today is the first day of Kwanzaa, and there are 7 principles that honor African heritage that are part of that celebration. And like I said, it will kick off today and all in that
What time does
space.
it kick off, Mark?
Day is actually one that is easy to remember. It is Yemoja. It's actually the second day, which I usually butcher, which is Kuja Chagaliga, which stands for self-determination. Ujamaa, which is collective works and responsibility. Ujamaa, which is with the Ujima and Ujamaa, which are very much spelled similar. Ujima is Ujima, and that's collective work and responsibilities. And Ujamaa is cooperative economics, and then Nia is purpose, and then Kumba is creativity, and then Imani, the last day on January 1st, is faith. So yes, faith is celebrated in that line and all along those lines. So definitely looking forward to the celebration, and we'll see what goes on in that space. I did have a question.
When is the event in Hayti Center?
It starts off at 1 o'clock, runs till 6:30 here at the center. There are different other locations. I think Cary will be on the 29th. I think that there is one on the 30th. That might be Cary might be the 30th, and the 29th might be Fruit of Labor. But definitely there are a number of ones. And January 1st is at the Armory. So there are a number of celebrations throughout the city and throughout the country, because there are a number of celebrations that are here on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can find Timor, which has got the sites listed and all along those lines, the Magic of African Rhythm. So if you go to that website, you will see where the various locations are here in.
I may come today if I have time. I might be off today, but I'll try. Is it going tomorrow too, or just today? The Hayti Heritage.
There are several days, but tomorrow there is not a celebration. The next celebration, I'm looking at the dates and everything, because there will be several celebrations. And like I said, there are different ones that are in different locations and all in that space. I think the 27th, there was not one, but I think there is one on the 28th, the 29th, the 30th, and of course the big one on January 1st in downtown at the Armory and all along those lines. So there are
Yeah.
a number of that people will be attending and will be checking them out on a regular basis. So that would be amazing to see how folks get to these various events and everything. The theme this year is "We Are the Fence," and all along those lines. So definitely there is a number of celebrations that will be going on. And like I said, if you go to the timor.com website, you can find out some of the other locations, some of those that I may have stated and don't remember all their locations and dates and times, but they will be on that particular website and everything.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm going to try to make it out to Hayti today, but I didn't really have it planned on my schedule, so it's just going to depend on whether I can drive out there. I'm feeling kind of lazy, but I'll do my best. But I may look at the ones in Cary. But I do want to wish everyone a happy Kwanzaa. Thank you for bringing that up. And do we have any other guests today, Mark? Because I'm going to head out.
Well, we've got Jacoby, and Jacoby's always got amazing things going on. And of course, we've got Nick, and we have a featured guest on next week and everything. But yeah, Jacoby's trying to get his camera situated and come on as well. And I think Nick Valveda will be with us also. So I'm trying to figure out where Jacoby's at. He's got his youngin with him, and I'm sure the youngin bought some new gifts and all along those lines. So we've got some amazing folks in that space also. So definitely it'll be interesting to see what goes on. Merry Christmas to Benny and to Jacoby and everybody else that's there. Of course, Merry Christmas to you. I actually spent it with my mom on yesterday up in Rocky Mountain. We actually discussed politics, and one of the things we discussed, because I have a cousin that was actually on the detail for the championship game of the Celebration Bowl for Kamala. And apparently, since Howard didn't win, Kamala made an early departure. So my cousin was saying that if they'd won, she was planning to go down there and speak to the students. But since they did not win, and FAMU beat them. And all along those lines, she made a quick exit, but he was working the detail for Kamala at the Celebration Bowl championship and all along those lines. But apparently, she made a quick exit. So Nick, she didn't stick around. She didn't give any inspiring words. If they had won, she was planning to give some inspiring words, but she made a quick exit, as my cousin put it, and all along those lines and everything in that space. But we also were talking politics. We do that. We're an unusual family in that sense. And my cousin and even my brother and everybody else were wondering and hoping that instead of Trump against Biden, that maybe Gavin Newsom would get in play. And there was even some talk about maybe Gavin Newsom being the number two and replacing Kamala. But I don't know if that would ever happen. But there was some of that conversation
Yeah.
at the dinner table.
The only way it would happen is if you did elect Gavin Newsom to be the nominee, you could get rid of Kamala because the Constitution doesn't allow the president and vice president to be from the same state. So that could be a conversation that's occurring in back rooms because Newsom is a lot younger. I think the age difference of Biden, I think Nikki Haley's continuing to gain momentum. So we'll see what happens with that. But, if she does win the nomination and pulls off a miracle, I think that the Democrats are in real trouble if it's Biden versus Nikki Haley. And I think,
Are we doing world politics this evening?
Yeah, we are doing world politics.
Yeah,
That's it, and we can talk about that as well. I did create the link, and I'll send it out, and that can be part of the conversation. But before we get to world politics, one of the things that I saw that we talked about on the show before, but I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts, including Steve, is, Colorado voted to get Trump off the ballot. There's a state just above us that is looking at doing the same thing. So apparently Virginia is looking at getting Trump off the ballot as well. So that would be a major state. Any thoughts around that? And that is not necessarily a liberal state. Colorado is very liberal, but Virginia is one of those swing states. So is there any possibility that he's going to be off the ballot in Virginia?
I don't know. I mean, I think it could happen in Virginia, but let's not forget that the United States Supreme Court, I think, will eventually have the final determination on this. So I think these are, I still think that there won't be a way. I know Senator Tillis is against it. He's spoken against it. He'll make sure that North Carolina doesn't do it. But the legislature could do it. I'm sure the Democrats will try. But in North Carolina, it's a super majority until the end of 2024. So even if the Democrats tried that, it'd be a political maneuver to galvanize the base. I think that sometimes, and I've got to go in a few minutes, guys. I'm going to try to make world politics now. I am kind of off this week, but I'll be back later in the week and next week. But what I will say is that I think that these tactics sometimes hurt the Democrats, when more, because it just galvanizes that base even more for Trump, right? And you're just making everything about Trump rather than focusing on what they need to be focusing on, which is why support Democrats. Why reelect Joe Biden? Why elect Democrats to the House, to the Senate? If you focus all your stuff on Trump, I think you're taking away from your game. Just like in tennis, don't focus on your opponent, focus on your game. And they're focusing so much on the other side that as we do this, let's not forget, interest rates hovering above 5%. We're in the middle of a war in Ukraine. We're in the middle of a war in Gaza, really turning against Joe Biden in terms of the unpopularity of the Muslim community. And then you've got, I would say, we didn't talk about it, but as we, looking at the economy, what's going to happen as, all this COVID money dries out and, interest rates start really hitting consumers, will we spin into a recession? And so all of these factors are going on while Democrats in the White House, and what are they talking about? Donald Trump.
But speaking of things that people are talking about, I learned a new term. I don't know if Jacoby's heard this term. I actually learned it from my cousin and everything. And like I said, he is a GBI officer, and he may be retiring next year, or he may decide because he's got some health things that he's got to deal with to stick around for another year or two in the GBI and all in that space. But he told me about one of our favorite people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who apparently there's a new term called swatting, where you are actually given a false call of something happening in your area. And of course, then the SWAT team comes out. And apparently that happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene on Christmas. So some people made a false call of something happening, a burglary or something else. And of course, the entire SWAT team descended on her house on the holiday. So this is my first time hearing about this term and all along those lines. But Jatovi, you stay in touch of a lot of modern things. Is this a new term for you? And what do you think about this notion of swatting? So apparently it's false calls and the entire SWAT team descends on you.
Swatting is been out for for a while. Matter of fact, swatting started in the gaming community when basically there were some people who called the police and the SWAT team on a kid that was playing Call of Duty, and the team came in and they actually killed. I think there were a few people that were killed in that too. Well, in those swatting events, but yeah,
Hey guys.
I don't know if MTG swatted herself. She's crazy and would do something like that just for sympathy.
Well, Mark, I'll try to see around 1 or 2 if I can make it out to High Tide today. But that's my time for today. I'll be back later. We'll try to make it tonight. Might be out, but want to wish everyone a wonderful week. And as we set the stage for 2024, we're going to be. And then we didn't have time today. I didn't have time, but something to recap. I'm going to do some preparation tonight of this recapping these major events of the year. Of course, October 7th attack, economically, politically, people we've lost in the world. And talking about AI and the anniversary of ChatGPT, and so there's been a lot that happened in 2023. Kind of looking through all of those things and looking now at the looking glass end of 2024. Look at democracy, presidential, national politics, economy, and all of that coming. And it's going to be a busy year in 2024. Make no mistake.
Sounds like it. Hey, Nick, have you ever been
Thank
swatted
you, guys.
and all along those lines? And then I did see something that was gaining momentum, which may shock people, particularly in the year 2023, but it's because of California. I'm definitely going to bring this up, and maybe Jacoby's got some thoughts. But before I get to this, have you ever been swatted, Nick?
Never heard of it. That was the first time I've ever heard of this swatting concept where a bunch of people come running out there. Hey, and speaking of hearing about things, okay, I've never heard of Kwanzaa until I moved here. It didn't exist. At least in Florida, where I grew up, it didn't exist in.
No, it's actually in Florida. It's actually in California. It was started in California.
Okay. But because when I was in Seattle, I never heard of this stuff. When I grew up in Florida, I never heard of it. I come here and I hear Kwanzaa. So can you explain to our viewership? Because if I don't know it, and I live in the United States, our international viewers don't have a clue what this is all about. So please enlighten us, Mark, as we sit in a sea of
Kwanzaa
darkness.
was started by a black nationalist and all along those lines, but it's definitely the celebration of, and it's almost, some people see it as an alternative Christmas, but it's definitely around a number of principles, and I named some of them earlier, like collective work and responsibility, unity, purpose. Faith is a very important part of the conversation as well, and as my good friend before he passed away, Papa Chuck Davis, said, it is a celebration that is not just for one ethnic group and all along those lines. So it's definitely one that a number of people are invited of various communities and all along those lines. So I know even the one here, there will be a mixture of people that will be celebrating this 7-day principle. And actually, I'll be part of a panel that'll be talking about safety and all along those lines. So it is definitely one. And we might even have members of HEART, which is a health organization here in North Carolina, that will be celebrating it as well. But I want to say it was started in the late 60s and has been around for a number of years. It was actually started in California by the gentleman that was one of the founders within the Black nationalism movement and everything, but it has been around for several decades and is definitely a celebration that has gained traction. And there are a number of films. You can see the film Black Candle, which actually talks about the principles and all along those lines. And like I said, today there will be African drumming, there will be some vendors, there will be children vendors, there will be a film shown, there will be yoga, and there will be a number of other things. So you're more than welcome to come on down, Nick, and learn about it directly and all in that space. Like I said, it is a celebration that is open to many. So who knows, we might even get you in a family drum workshop, because I do know my friend Telly will be teaching drumming, and I could see you doing some drumming, and I think even Jacoby could see you getting all those drum sets and getting your drumming going and all along those lines.
I just want to see Nick in the kente cloth.
Yep.
I don't even know what that is. So talk to me, Jacoby. What is this kente cloth, or what are you talking about?
It's basically the garb. It's it's the African, it's hard to describe. It's basically, you have, the shirt and pants, but the thing and the actual hood. But it's just the design and the pattern that's on there.
Okay. Yes. Well, Jacoby, like I
The
said,
Democrat Party actually tried to, at one point, put on a kente cloth and do a kneeling thing at one point.
I'm learning all this as I'm learning my roots because I'm a Plantagenet.
Oh,
So I'm reading all about that. And a lot of people don't even know what a Plantagenet is. But I bet you don't know what a Plantagenet is, do you, Jacoby, huh?
let's tell our viewers.
Let's tell our viewers. Plantagenet. See, I'm a
But speaking of telling our viewers and everything, what I was getting ready to get to, and I wanted to hear your thoughts about this, is apparently reparations. You know, that fancy word and everything is gaining historical momentum in 2023 because of California's efforts. So for that, what's next for the Golden State will be tough, but apparently there is a task force that is looking at that possibility. I know that there have been some places in the Northeast. I think that even here in North Carolina, Asheville has had some luck and everything, but apparently, you got to love these committees. But the state's reparation task force in California spent 2 years researching the impact of the generational damage of the discriminatory practices and produced a 1,100-page report with comprehensive recommendations that it considers to be the blueprint for other cities and states and the federal government to follow. So the blockbuster file included a method to calculate financial compensations for those eligible to redress, and more than 400 organizations have signed on to support reparations in the country's most populous state. So Evanston, Illinois became the first city in the country in 2021 to actually pay reparations to its eligible Black residents, and New York recently enacted a commission to study the effects of slavery there. But it looks like this California push may be a push that could see this taking place. And maybe some people like me and Jacoby might get a check, that whole 40 acres and a mule kind of thing, and all along those lines. But any thoughts around this, Jacoby? Is there going to be something that's going to take off, and are we going to get a check?
No, you're not. Reparations is not happening, and I'm sad it is not happening, but it's not happening.
Well, I would like reparations being a 27th great grandchild of the Plantagenets, who were the kings of England for 300 years. Edward III, the second, the first. They're all my ancestors. Now, here's what happened, according to this the research that my sister did. When she goes, we took the DNA test, we're Plantagenets. Great. What happened is that my 17th great grandfather came here to British colonies in 1650. That's before the United States, as an indentured servant, because the Plantagenet royals, which he was, lost to Oliver Cromwell and the parliamentarians in the Battle of Dunbar. So what happened was, and they killed 4,000 of them, 6,000 were transported over to British America to get rid of them as an indentured servant. So I want some reparations for that indentured servant, Alexander Inez, who came here zillions of years ago. And I want to be restored back and keep the Tudors.
There's a difference between indentured servant and slave.
What?
Hey, Nick, there's a big difference. But Nick, while you're getting your reparations, hold on a second. While you're getting your reparations, can we get some from Donald Trump? Because apparently Donald Trump shared a Christmas message for his opponents on that lovely site, True Social, and he asked them, may they rot in hell. So apparently he did not have nice words for the politicians that are not his fans and everything. So apparently he went on a divisive and angry Christmas rant. So apparently he was not being nice, and maybe he got some coal in his stockings on yesterday and everything. I'm trying to figure out what happened to him that he went on this rant and everything. But apparently
Donald Trump had a lump of coal delivered to his Christmas tree on Christmas Day. So that's what he got. But,
interesting.
How do we talk about this guy? I mean,
there's an interesting thing that I saw. Actually, it popped up, and it was somebody had written. I think someone had written a poem based off of Isaiah 5:20a. Basically, it says, "First we overlook evil, then we permit evil, then we legalize evil, then we promote evil, then we celebrate evil." Then we persecute those who still call it evil. That's exactly what we're doing with Trump.
I have a point.
So I'm assuming you don't like the Donald.
No.
Dude is evil.
You know he's very popular in the Republican Party, and
Yeah,
you
I know.
know
And
he'll be the
it's sad.
nominee,
Think about it. Think of
and
how
you
sad
know
it
he
is.
might be the next president of the United States.
The Republican Party, who claims to be the most, we're the most sympathetic to the Israeli people, and we're so pro-Israel, and we're so this. They're voting for a guy quoting Nazis. You have Hispanic people. Well, we want somebody other than Biden, and we're going to go for Trump. Well, as Trump is talking about installing concentration camps for migrants and immigrants, and also calling immigrants vermin, quoting Hitler. You have black people voting, some black people saying, well, we're not going to be slaves to the Democrat Party, and we're going to vote for Trump because, the Trump, as he's pushing white supremacist rhetoric. It's just the fact that there was something I saw, Joe Rogan. This is a prime example. Joe Rogan the other day was picking at Biden. I wasn't listening to him. I just saw a clip of it because it popped up. But he was, going hard at Biden, calling Biden just an idiot and saying, "Oh man, he just can't really do anything right." And can you believe the other day he was talking about we didn't lose, we lost the Revolutionary War. No, the Revolutionary War. It would have been easier had they protected the airports and blah blah blah. And, those airports, and he was going in on Biden. But then they played the clip of what Biden said, and Biden was picking at Trump because Trump actually said about the airports in the Revolutionary War. And then as soon as that got pointed out, Trump then Joe Rogan turned around. Oh, well, Trump just made a mistake.
Hey, and I want to get to Sasha on a couple of things and everything. One is that Nick was asking about Kwanzaa. There is another day that is today that is around the Commonwealth and the countries of the Commonwealth and all in that space, because apparently today, being December 26th, is Boxing Day. So since I do not know as much about that, it's apparently the feast of Saint Stephen, the first Christian martyr, and it is apparently celebrated in parts of the Commonwealth, including Canada. So will you be celebrating Boxing Day today, Sasha, and all along those lines? Because that is a holiday that I am not as aware of, but it is definitely one that is there in Canada and everything. So will you be celebrating Boxing Day today?
There's nothing to celebrate. It's just a day when supposedly prices are being lowered significantly so people can buy some, whatever it might be, computers or cell phones or something else, whatever it might be. I don't think it's a big celebration simply because stock market is open today. So there's, I don't know what celebration. I celebrate only the fact that the stock market is open. That's
we'll celebrate if the stock market goes up. That's how Sasha.
But Sasha, there is a major area, and that's what I was going to get to as well, because apparently, I know Crimea has been an area of definitely that Ukraine has wanted, and apparently Ukraine struck a Russian naval landing warship in Crimea. So it is claiming that it destroyed a Russian tank landing ship, and it definitely unleashed cruise missiles on the Crimean port. So is there any possibility that Crimea will be reclaimed, since I know you've been following the whole war in Ukraine and all along those lines? So I do know that Crimea was a point of contention for a number of years, but this looks like a positive development from the standpoint of Ukraine. So what is your thoughts around this attack?
Absolutely. This very positive development. The Crimea will be reclaimed by Ukraine eventually. It's not clear what time it will happen and how much time it will be spent, how many people will die in order to do that. But it will happen. Right now, Putin is screaming about some peace with Ukraine or so on, but there are no grounds for peace, simply because at the same time he mentions that Russia will obviously keep all the territories that it annexed in this war. So there is no point. They cannot meet anywhere, absolutely. And so therefore, and also remember that Zelensky make it into the law that there are no negotiations with Russia while Putin is in power. Okay, so there is a slight chance that Putin will not win his election or re-election in March of this next year. Highly unlikely, unfortunately, but we'll see. I don't understand how any negotiations are possible under the present environment.
And along those same lines, I saw that there was a number of things going on in Israel, including the U.S. has accused Iran of an Indian Ocean attack as shipping threats are growing. And I did not realize that apparently there is a active navy in India, and the Indian Navy has deployed warships to the Arabian Sea after the tanker attack. So I know that there's a lot of people that have been talking about Hamas, but apparently Hezbollah and other groups are also getting involved in the fray as well. So how much are we going to see a wider expansion of the war efforts there in the Middle East and everything? And I don't know if anybody's got thoughts around this, because apparently Israeli forces have bombarded central Gaza in an apparent move toward expanding the ground offensive. And I've heard definitely that Netanyahu has said that there will be no ceasefire until the war is won, and all along those kind of lines. But I didn't know if anybody had any thoughts about the latest news coming out of Israel, because apparently Israel bombing of a Gaza home killed a journalist and a family as well. But I didn't know if anybody had any thoughts about what's going on in the Middle East or in what we were talking about earlier, which was Ukraine and Russia.
I would much prefer that all people, Palestinians, journalists, whoever is right now in Gaza would evacuate anywhere, because it's very clear that Israel will not stop until the last person, Hamas person, with arms in their hands.
Well,
They
here's
will
an
not
interesting stat that I read. I don't know if it's true or not. It was a survey done by, see, when you get some of the news today, you don't know if it's true or not, but it's a survey that was done, and it relates on October the 7th. Okay, the October 7th attack. You'll love this one, Sasha. On the attack of October 7th, they did a poll of the people in Gaza. And this is a general poll for the adults. And the thing is, here's what the poll said, and you'll love it. 84% of the people in Gaza supported the October 7th attack. Period, full stop. Now, that's a problem. And the problem is why are they supporting it? And they went, well, they tell their kids the Jews are bad, you got to attack them, blah, blah, blah. In other words, there's this big, what do they call it, anti-Semitic rhetoric going on in Gaza for 20 bloody years. So the attack took place, 84% of them supported. They said, oh, we don't care, kill all the Jews, don't give a rat's. Now they're being attacked, and all of a sudden they're innocent victims. So anyway, you can take it like, and yes, of course we know you and India. You're in the fastest growing economy in the world today. So I don't know, Ankit kind of appeared.
So just to point out, before the October 7th attack, people in Gaza wanted to get rid of Hamas. The majority of individuals were against Hamas. The longer this war goes, yes.
Then why did 84% support it?
The longer this war goes on, the more people are going to support people seemingly protecting them. It is right now, you have nobody looking at the casualties and only stating, hey, we must kill all of Hamas. Yeah. Hamas is an ideology and not an actual entity, more so.
Really? Yeah. So what happened on October 7th? Ideology?
They were attacked by an ideology.
Sasha, can I finish?
Just an ideology.
Can I finish? So,
okay, faster.
Similar to how ISIS was, how Al Qaeda was.
How are they doing?
There is an ideology and there's a thread within them. Hamas, yes. Okay, Hamas is a terrorist organization. We all agree on that. I don't know how many times we have to say it, because for some odd reason, we have to say it all the time. Because
no, not really, not really. In 2 weeks, there will be no Hamas.
Sasha, hey, Sasha, how you doing?
Oh, get used to it.
Can
Get
I
used to
finish?
it, my friend.
Even on Christmas,
Come
you
on,
got
listen.
talk
Get
over me.
used to it. You think
No,
you're
no, let me finish.
God of
Let me finish.
of network?
I will let you talk after I finish.
Okay, finish
you.
already.
Thank you. So, Hamas is a terrorist organization. We get that. Hamas has an ideology, and that is the
Wow.
thing that's the problem.
Wow.
The ideology, the same thing that Al Qaeda had, because as soon as Al Qaeda was crushed, ISIS pops up. What did they have in common? They had the same ideology about killing the West and a whole bunch of other things. A terrorist ideology is a problem. And the more that you keep, the more that the indiscriminate killing happens, and that's a lot of what is beginning to happen, which is sad.
How long you gonna talk?
You can answer.
How long? How long? 40 minutes, 2 hours, 5 hours. What do you need?
I haven't even
What do you need? Come on, tell me what do you need? I will get out and I will come back when you finish.
Okay, come back in 2 minutes. That's
In
all
2
I
minutes.
need to
Deal.
talk.
Okay,
So,
that's deal. Keep
There we
talking.
go. There we go. You see up top it says 36, 30, 33. I will finish before 38, 33. So again, the ideology itself is the big thread. And the more that the killings of individuals like the journalists, the 20,000 plus, and all this stuff that builds sympathy for the opposing. So therefore, the devil that they know is better than the devil that they don't know. And also, Lee, you want to put up why killing before the occupation, blah, 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 blah. Do the history. And we're talking about what's going on right now, Lee, instead of why the killing before 1947. See, Sasha, yeah, I know. What time does that say? 37:17. I still got a minute. So I can keep talking. I told you a minute. So again, the ideology is a problem, just like the Secretary of State said. The Secretary of State pointed out the more the bombings and the killings and less negotiation, which the actual hostages, the families of the hostages have asked for, the people that have been released have asked for, the United Nations, everywhere has asked for more concern for not only the Palestinian people, the Israeli hostages, the other individuals that are captured, because that has to be the focus. Because if you can show the humanitarian side, then that leads people to your side. If I'm going to sit here and drop dumb bombs, which they've dropped over 200 plus dumb bombs on the actual area, not targeted killings, but just killing indiscriminately, that pushes people to the opposition, which you don't know. Now, Sasha, as you see, I'm coming up on 33, 2 minutes, and I got done. Thank you.
Bravo, Jatovi. I'm impressed. Somebody on this channel a while ago expressed to me when I asked, what was the plan? Okay, you attack on October 7th, you kill innocent people, children, 80 years old, Holocaust survivors, you brought them back to Gaza, people are cheering, spitting on the hostages, having a great time. Okay, fine. Where is ideology? So what's ideology has to do with what's happened on October 7th? Nothing. The other thing is that, of course, they understood that they could not defeat Israel, but what they wanted to do is they wanted to become martyrs to explain their cause and bring world's attention or so. Fine. So now when Israel started its attack, it's a great time for you to exactly fulfill your mission to become martyrs. Don't be cowards hiding behind innocent civilian population or in those tunnels or anywhere. Get your arms in your hands and go and fight Israelis. No, nobody wants to fight Israelis. Nobody, because they know they will be killed in no time. So these savages, they're hiding somewhere under the ground behind the innocent people and so on. And this is why, unfortunately, the toll is very high. A lot of people are being killed simply because there is no other way to conduct this military operation. By the way, Americans have 8 hostages. Why they are not trying to rescue them? Where are the Americans which were portrayed in all these heroic movies about Rambo and others? And why they are not going in? They don't know how to do it? What's the problem? Israelis will teach them very, very quickly. Okay, so now it's a horrible situation that so many people are being killed. There is no questions about it. The children are being killed. There is no questions about that either. Somebody asking me about Red Cross. Red Cross over there, it's a Hamas organization which is run by Hamas. And I was watching a lot of programs where they show, even if you remember when hostages were released, remember 4 or 5 days when the hostages were being released, and they were brought by Red Cross to Israelis to pick them up. All these cars were drawn by Hamas drivers. They were dressed in typical Hamas or Palestinians wear, and it's obviously the Hamas organization. So there is no trust of any kind to Red Cross operating in that area, period. Same thing with the United Nations. Obviously, this is not organization, should be completely disbanded, and actually US should eradicate them from US soil, and if they want to operate somewhere in Afghanistan or some other wonderful countries, let them do exactly that. Okay, I'm done.
You rambled for 4+ minutes.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You rambled for 4+ minutes saying dumb stuff, and yes, it's dumb. Red Cross is not
something
by
important to
the
ask
United
Mark.
Nations should not be disbanded.
Mark, is there food at this Kwanzaa celebration in the Haiti?
Yes, there will be some food. I think there's a food truck. There will be some dance. There will be a number of other things going on. So, yeah, there might be something for you to snack on, and there'll definitely be some fruit and everything else as well. But yeah, there might be
I
something
got
for
a
you
question
too.
for our friend in Canada. Do you know? Have you heard of Kwanzaa in Canada? There's a Kwanzaa celebration going on here in
No.
No, okay, see that good because I felt like an idiot. I was going like, I never heard of it until I moved to here, and then last year it's the first time I heard it when Mark said it. I'm going, what the heck is it? But apparently it's a big deal they have here in the United States.
So what is that exactly?
Well, Mark has
It's
to
an
explain
African American cultural holiday that has been adopted around the world, including in Canada. So yes, there are some of the Afro-Canadian population that also celebrate.
All I said
Kwanzaa
is
as
I
well.
never heard about it. That's it. Maybe there are old people. I have to look at in the window. Maybe people are demonstrating on the streets, and I
They're
don't see
doing
it.
Boxing Day where you're at, I think.
Boxing Day is a different story. They have some sales starting at 6 o'clock, and they provide some ridiculous, like you can buy iPhone for $9.99 or something like this. It's
There we
door
go.
crashes, and it's only one one phone for all Toronto. Maybe I don't know how they do it. But,
Yeah, you know, Sasha,
Serious.
I was trying to find the article. I can't find it. Maybe I'll find it for tomorrow. But I was finding an article yesterday that was showing some parallels, and they actually used a um, thing that I know that one of our panelists, Shaquille, has brought up before as well, which is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And they were finding some parallels between the struggle in Ukraine and the struggle of Palestinians, and definitely this notion, which Jacoby has brought up, of wanting to have a humanitarian solution and all along those lines, because apparently that is one of the principles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I think the first principle is that everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in the Declaration without distinctions of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinions, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of the political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non-self-governant, or under other any other limitations of sovereignty. So the article that I was reading, and I will admit it just came from a very pro-left kind of source and everything, was that there are some parallels between the Ukrainians fighting for their independence and the Palestinians fighting for their independence. You do not see
No,
these parallels at all?
no, well, there are some parallels. Okay, I would agree with that, but no more than that. Because you see, Russia-Ukrainian war, it's a classical war where big and strong country attacked a weak and smaller country. Okay, so according to certain political views, like real politics or so on, the big and large country has to defeat a small and weak country. And actually, weak countries shouldn't even offer any resistance because it would be futile and would lead to extraordinary deaths among the population. However, Ukrainians choose to take a position where, okay, you're big and strong. Prove it. Just go and prove it. It's like in a poker game. Okay, you're saying, okay, you have a full house, right? Okay, show me your cards. So Ukraine did exactly that. Okay, you have a full house, you have nuclear weapons, you have all kinds of things, you're a second army in Europe and so on. Show it. They can't. For almost 2 years, they're fighting for several months to take some kind of village of Avdiivka. It's a horrible country which says we will gonna destruct London and Paris and Warsaw and whoever we wanna destruct. They cannot take a small village for several months. Give me a break. It's hilarious. Now, Israel is a very different story. Here is a weak entity attacked much more powerful, bigger, and stronger entity, and entity which, by the way, has nuclear weapons. How is that? And they attack viciously. Okay, if there would be some kind of mistake, they missed the border, so they by mistake went into the territory, but then they realized their mistake, they went back. Okay, there would be no conflict. But what they've done on October 7th, obviously, it's an act of war. It's an attack which has to be dealt with, answered properly, and so on. So this is very different story, and the end game in both these conflicts will be very different. In Ukraine, Russia,
Sasha, but what do you say to those people that would argue, and like I said, we can get into a whole philosophical or religious debate, that there were already existing people in the area of Israel when Israel was first created in 1948, because that is what some people are saying, is that this is a response to what some people consider an unlawful occupation that has been going on for decades. Now, whether that is true or not, we can get into a whole philosophical and religious debate, because you can definitely make the argument that the Jewish population was there way back in the age of Jesus Christ and a number of others as well. But that's not what a lot of people are arguing now. They're arguing that it is a occupation and it is a pushback against the occupation.
Mark, who was Jesus Christ by nationality? Where he was born? Do you remember?
I mean, wasn't he born in Bethlehem?
Yeah. Who was his by nationality?
He was Jewish.
Really? So how Jesus Christ could be Jewish if there were no Jews at the time, only Muslims and only Palestinians or so on? How did that happen that all of a sudden Jesus Christ, he could be born in any place in the world, but he was born in Bethlehem, in the territory of Israel?
I mean, there are some people that would argue that Jesus Christ.
Jews lived there for last 3,500 years. So what kind of occupation?
Well, like I said, we could get into a whole argument. There are some people that are going to make the argument that Jesus and other prophets were actually of African descent, but that's a whole nother conversation that can be debated as well and everything. But you're laughing, but there is actually some conclusive proof, even if you look at the Bible and some of the passages in the Bible and everything. Hair of woolen hair. I mean, there's a number of passages that have been pointed to that the weather.
Maybe Jesus Christ have brothers, of which we don't know.
Wait a minute.
Just point out the area that they are from, is predominantly what?
But Mark,
There wouldn't be
isn't
a John there.
Okay, Mark, isn't everybody, according to science, of African descent?
Yeah, if we want to go by the
Yeah.
first nation and
Go
where
back
the
far enough,
creation
right?
where creation came from, yes.
Right. Okay. But well, I mean, at least the science says like the first Homo sapiens came out of Africa. They didn't say China, didn't say India. They said they came out of Africa. So everybody is of African descent. Full stop. All right. So with that, gives a rat's rear. What really is important is on October 7th, when Hamas decided to attack Israel. Did they attack military installations or did they attack anybody and civilians? Who did they attack? Civilians or military?
No, they attack civilians, and as I've said before, and I'll say it again, there are several people that have made the statement that it was
and
actually a attempt to disrupt the two-state solution, just like it was an attempt
I don't
to
want to
do
hear
it
about solutions. They weren't
by
talking
the
about
Israelis
solutions.
as well.
All they talked about is
Here's also something though. Oh, Nick, just to push back.
do I get 2 minutes?
Here's a pushback, just a real pushback, so you can answer your 2 minutes on this part. Who was paying Hamas?
Pardon?
Who also was funneling money to Hamas?
Israel was probably funding them along with Iran, so they'd support Israel and Israel's policies and Iran's policies.
And Kuwait, and United States, and Canada, and United Arab Emirates.
They thought incorrectly if
Who
we
was
give
giving
them money,
Hamas
they'll support
money
us.
with cash? Straight cash in suitcases.
Yeah. Right. And you'd think if you'd pay somebody off, they wouldn't attack.
Listen, how do you know that? Did you check? Did you check the cash? Did you count the cash? What are you talking about? Come on, garbage. It's a garbage. Okay. What are you talking on public? Some kind of non.
Why I bring that up? You
Prove it. Prove it. Show me the backs of cash.
Hold on a second, because we only got a few more minutes to go and everything. But one of the things I was going to mention is that Lee brought up this whole notion of the attacks that were going on from that have been going on for a number of centuries. I would argue that that has been going on from a number of religions. That wasn't just Islam. That wasn't just Judaism. That Christianity has been guilty of some very heinous crimes as well. So this notion of butchering and that going on has been something that a number of religions have done, and it hasn't just been one religion over another. Christianity had the whole crusade.
No, it's Israel's time to butcher. It's a payback time, baby. So accept it. There is nothing could be done about it.
Point out factually that if we keep going down the road, because we keep trying to do this whole religion, the Islam religion is bad. Let's point out facts here, and let's not do that, because really, again, every religion is used for people use that as finding their inner peace, which is a great thing, and it's something that we should be supportive of. What ends up happening is those individuals that bastardize a religion and take it way too literally and push it way over the top are the ones that end up actually the terrorist side and doing extremely bad things. For example, I love how you point to your watch again and you rambled for full 5 minutes and said nothing. So just point out, let's not go down that path, because then we go in this pity pat of, well, Islam killed this many people, Christianity killed this many people, because we don't want to do that, because the fact of the matter is that you have the Great Crusades, you have the burning of the witches at the stake, you have all these things that did happen. For some odd reason, people just don't want to recognize those things. But let's not do that, and let's focus on the fact that, yes, if we talk about it, October 7th, that was a terrorist organization. What's going on after that is different. That's the response of Israel to that. They have a right to self-defense, but then they also have to figure out a way not to just indiscriminately killing 20,000 plus people. Yes, you've killed some Hamas terrorists within that, but you just can't keep on killing like the hostages who some have gotten killed. You can't kill
a massacre.
So we have to figure a way and stop arguing with each other that, hey, if you're talking about the humanity, you're defending Hamas. No, I'm not. I'm as supportive as Israel, as I'm as supportive as of humanity, as the Palestinian people. I just don't want to see death.
Gitovi, a question.
Arguing for genocide and so on and so forth.
Gitovi,
I-
a quick
That's
question to you.
extremist. That's crazy. You're no
May
different.
I
If you're
ask
arguing extremism,
May I ask you a
you're no
question?
different than Hamas.
Gitovi, may I ask you a question?
Ask a question.
Okay, here is a question for you, Gitovi. Would you agree that if Hamas a week ago, months ago, 2 months ago, if they would release all the hostages and turn themselves and lay down the arms, that the conflict would be done and over? It would spare lives of approximately 20,000 people. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. Hamas is a terrorist organization. I wish they would go away. I don't know what Israel's response would be because, again, the IDF has gone in and has been very adamant, just as you have repeated. All Hamas members must die. If they drop their arms, are they going to die?
Well, there are negotiations through third parties.
And again, I'm not defending Hamas. I am not. They're a terrorist organization and they should face justice.
That's okay. You're
Hey,
right.
Sasha, just really quickly, my brother actually had a very interesting point, and I think both you and Jatovi may agree with this. He actually said that right now, Hamas is doing something that we actually praise Trump for doing. Hamas is doing some masterful public relations because it is hard to argue against the image of babies being shown and all of that line and everything. So I
And
really
what
could
about
argue with my
Israeli
brother
babies
when he brought up
killed
that point because if you see the babies that are being killed,
Israeli
is
babies and Hamas or these babies. Mark, the public relations is a different issue. If they're so good at public relations, okay, let it be. Israelis maybe are not so good in public relations. Maybe they're good, but they're not using it. I don't know, really. I don't know. I know.
But do you understand, Jatovi, do you understand the point that my brother was making, that if you have those images of the babies being torn apart and killed and everything, that actually increases the sympathy for Hamas? Is the point that Malik was making. Do you understand that point that he was making?
It does not
Yes.
increase sympathy for
Honestly, Rick
Hamas.
has brought that up many times.
What it does, it increases anti-Semitism in the world, including United States and Europe and everywhere else. That's all what it does. So if what Hamas wanted to do to increase substantially anti-Semitism around the world, then they succeeded.
Both
Go ahead.
sides are doing what each side has done for decades. It's just that this time the scale of everything has been magnified. Hamas attacks and a terrorist attack. Israel responds and has superior forces and kills more people than Hamas initially killed. And because of where Hamas hides out and because Israel's a little bit indiscriminate, you get the exploded kids. And what's different now is that you've got 21,000 dead people involved, more than 1,000 Israelis and 20,000 Gazans. And the question is whether this leads to any differences in what happens going forward.
Exactly. And that's where Mark, your brother's point is exactly what Rick said.
Right.
I mean, and that's what the Secretary of State keeps talking about. The more people that are dying in this situation, the more images that are shown of, now we're crossing the 2,100. Now, we may even hit 25,000, which is sad to think about. That is making more people sympathetic to and more sympathetic to those standing against Israel, which it should not be. So again, this is why the response itself needs to change, and why the UN, why everybody, even the Red Cross, which again, Sasha, the Red Cross and the UN are just fine. They're the same group that's gone inside of Ukraine and helped the Ukrainian people. And
They're not helping at
they
all.
They are.
Absolutely not.
They are. It's documented.
What's
It's
documentary?
documented.
20 days in Mariupol. It
This
will
is
be
the
nominated for
same thing.
Oscar. Just find
This
it
is
and
the
watch
same-
it. And you will
Sasha,
understand what's happening in
Sasha,
Ukraine. And nobody is crying
Sasha,
about Ukrainian babies and Ukrainian civilians
Sasha.
losing their life. Nobody cares about that.
Why are you
Why?
triggered?
Because they're fighting
Why are you
powerful Russia,
triggered?
great big Russia. And
Sasha.
here is a little dirty Israel, little
Sasha,
Jews.
it's
They're
triggered.
attacking civilians or so. Remember, the Jewish state is there to protect Jews around the world, and those Jews primarily living in Israel. And that's not going to be waived.
You're rambling.
Israel has
Let Rick go.
about
Let Rick
100
go.
nuclear warheads, and will defeat anybody, whoever will take. So any country from now, what's happening in
Let Rick
Gaza, any country that will just think about attacking Israel, oh my God.
That isn't even what I said. Nobody
So
said that.
Israel
Nobody said that.
doesn't need. Listen,
Nobody is talking
my
about that.
friend,
No,
enough
second.
already.
No,
Remember
second.
this: Israel doesn't need anybody's love. Israel needs people to be feared of Israel. That's the only goal. And this operation in Gaza will lead
It's not
exactly
attacking
to that.
people. Nobody talked about that. Rick.
Now, Rick,
This is a somewhat separate issue, but why did Hamas commit its attacks now? And a paranoid person could make the case that that Russia, who helps with a lot of this stuff, and Iran, may benefit from the Mideast being up in flames at this point in time, with relations to the Ukraine war, with the relation to the election in the U.S. I just saw on TV that there's the hugest migrant caravan in years is making its way up to a lot of these things are, a paranoid person can say, are coordinated to, by larger countries than Israel and Gaza.
Rick, if you want to add to the paranoia, and that's the other thing that I was going to get to, and we can end the show very shortly, but apparently, another issue that has been very much a concern of people in general is human trafficking, and a charter plane was grounded in France for a human traffic investigation, which arrived in India with 276 Indians aboard earlier on today. So the passengers had apparently been heading for Nicaragua, but were instead blocked inside the Volri airport for 4 days in an exceptional holiday ordeal. So they are saying that 276 of the original 303 passengers were en route to Mumbai, and that 25 others requested asylum in France. So apparently this is all part of that human trafficking.
You can ask
around the
who
world.
benefits from the world being on fire, and certainly Russia does.
Yeah, definitely. And then that's definitely something. Just really
Yep.
quickly, as we're getting ready to wind down, I know we've got the rerun of the Friday Ukraine-Russia show, and we'll be back with a live one on this coming Friday. And we've got some other shows that'll be running as reruns, but we will have world politics at 5 and everything. But Sasha, just really quickly, because it's something that I was curious about, do you think that there is possibility to disagree with the Israeli government and still be faithful to the Jewish faith? Because I think that it is perfectly all right to disagree with some of the policies that Netanyahu and others put out without necessarily feeling that you are going totally against Israel or going against the Jewish population. But that's just my personal view. I was wondering yours. Do you feel that you can be critical of the Jewish state or the Israeli government?
Mark, you're stating obvious things. The Israeli government and Israel and Israeli peoples, they are not the same, obviously. And never be the same and never were the same. But what I must admit is that since October 7th, they made a common government of all parties involved. It's very popular now. And until the war with Hamas will be over, that's going to remain the same thing. Now, once the war with Hamas is over, then there will be huge changes in Israel. There is the preparation of all reasons and all events which led to October 7th, the deficiencies in their defense mechanism, and it's all okay. I've read some of these materials, but again, it's not the right time or place to discuss it. All that will be dealt with. There are a lot of people will go to jail. The Netanyahu prospects are very uncertain, that's for sure. But it's all after the war. Right now, Netanyahu proves to be a very credible leader, and he's doing a fantastic job to unite the government and Israeli people and so on. And I know personally people in Israel who hate Netanyahu passionately, but they're now behind him until the war will be over.
Can I make just two quick parallels and everything as we get ready to wind down? But I definitely was a fan, even though I was a youngster, and I mean very much of a youngster, of Martin Luther King and even to some degree Malcolm X and everything. But I think that my parents and even myself, if I chose to be critical of them, that was within our right, just like I think that it is in the rights of the ANC to be critical of Nelson Mandela when he was the leader of that particular space and everything. So that's kind of where I was going at, is that I think that it is perfectly fine, even in these times, for you to be critical of Israel if there are things that you are not in favor of. But that's just my opinion. I do know there's some people that are in my circle that are Jewish that are not in favor of the attacks that are taking place by the Israeli government. But that's just what I've heard from some Jewish friends of mine and Jewish acquaintances.
Well, certainly the many people around the world who are appalled at the civilian death toll in Gaza, many of those people are not anti-Semitic. And if you go on Twitter, you can see people saying that you don't have to be anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. But then if you click on if you go look at the accounts of a lot of people who are saying that, they are fucking horribly anti-Semitic. So the sentiment against Israel is subject to being manipulated by people with an anti-Semitic agenda.
Rick, I would like to add something. I agree with what you said. There is almost 2 years since Russia started its war against Ukraine. Approximately 300,000 Ukrainians were killed, most of them civilians, a lot of children. In the first few months of war, if you remember, Bucha, Irpin, a lot of Ukrainian kids, women were raped, mutilated, and so on. But you know what? Nobody's crying about Ukrainian babies. Nobody's crying that much about Ukrainian civilians killed, hundreds of thousands. Well, it's Russia. It's a big, great Russia. So what are you talking about? Now, when same or approximately the same thing happened in Israel and Gaza, with the fact that the Gaza actually started its war against Israel, and everybody's crying so much about Palestinian children and so on. Who knows these Palestinian children or Palestinians? Nobody knows them, but it's against Israel. It's anti-Semitic runs. That's the only thing why people are caring so much about Palestinians. Or so. Not to help Palestinians. You want to help Palestinians? Help them somehow. Go there. Talk to Israelis. Stop the war. Do something. No. Nobody cares about that. But to do the anti-Semitic runs and doing anti-Semitic talk about Hitler hasn't completed his job or so on. This is what's going on. And I know personally, and I have proof of all that. Okay?
Just to point out, people were outraged at what Russia did going into Ukraine. Hence the reason why even the U.S.
Where are anti-Russian demonstrations? Have you ever seen one in the United States or anywhere?
Sasha, again, the U.S. and everybody jumped on. Well,
where are the demonstrations, Zatori? Show me at least one anti-Russian demonstration.
Sasha, again. So people were and still are upset about what Russia has done to Ukraine.
They're upset, but not as much about Israel. They're going to anti-Israeli demonstrations every day in every city. But where are there anti-Russian demonstrations? At least one. Answer my question, please.
If you'd let me talk, I would.
Okay. 2 minutes.
You're going to put me on a 2-minute clock again? We're going to do that for you too. So just a quick thing. People were upset about what what Russia did to Ukraine. The reason why you're talking about the protests and so on and so forth is because no, there weren't this giant uproar and protest because people went in. People fought for Ukraine and were supportive of Ukraine fighting against Russia. There was nobody, hey, we're pro-Russia, besides Trump and some of the MAGA, some of the people in that the MAGA wing of that party. Other than that, no, it's always been majority. Yeah, let's support Ukraine. Now it's kind of shifted due to politics and everything else. And so, yes, you have a lot of people dropping off the funding of Ukraine, the Republican Party. In terms of what's going on with Israel, you said you were going to let me finish. I haven't even gone a minute, Sasha. Don't even start. So, again, with Israel and
What is your watch?
Here we go again. I'm looking right here at the clock. It just turned to 11:11. It was 11:10. Now you interrupted me again. So, again.
Okay, you have extra minute. Okay.
Let me do it again. There you go. So again, with Israel and Palestine, the reason you have people up in arms on both sides is you see, just as Rick pointed out, just as Mark pointed out, you have one side on October 7th that was attacked by a terrorist organization and lost about 1,000 some odd people. In 2 months, you have another group of people that have lost 21,000 people. And all you see on TV. So you have a lot of
why? Because October 7th
I can't even finish.
day.
Why
And
would you
Israel
let me
has
finish?
2 months.
You
Of course you are
You gave me 2 minutes and you jumped in even before that.
Okay, keep going.
So again, you have a lot of people trying.
You tell me, are you being paid by minutes?
I mean, I'm just trying to answer your question you asked, and you won't even let me answer it.
There's another.
Oh, hold on one second, Rick. You had a thing you were going to bring up
There's
and
another
everything.
party to blame in this, at least in America, which is the news is bad at covering stuff that we've got. That it has a short attention span, and then news consumers get spoiled and have short attention. There's an easy story to do, which is you take Gaza and the number of dead and compare it to the number of dead as Sasha is doing in Ukraine. And somebody could do a story said, Israel gone on for 2 months, this many dead kids. Ukraine has gone on for 2 years, and for every dead kid in Gaza, there are 5 dead kids in Ukraine. Just
Rick, just really quickly and everything, because we do need to end and all. But to hear your point and everything, Sasha, I'm actually going to play a clip from the year when they took place, and this was actually a protest against Russia, and this was actually here in the U.S. So
people across the world have come together to denounce the Russian invasion in Ukraine and to express solidarity with the citizens of Ukraine. Thousands from more than 50 countries came out on the streets demanding peace in Ukraine and stricter sanctions against Russia. We leave you with these visuals as we wrap up this broadcast. Stay tuned to Beyond. Global News continues.
Putin, stop! Putin, stop!
Tutti quanti presenti.
Putin, giù le mani da Ucraina!
Noi ritirano di comunismo.
We are different countries. Hands off Ukraine! Hands off Ukraine! Hands off Ukraine! Hands off Ukraine! Stop! Stop! Putin, stop! Putin, stop! Ukraine! Героям слава! Слава Україні! Слава!
є ласкавої розрадниці. Uma Ave Maria, em ucraniano, e depois essa paz esperada. Pecadores, agora e na hora de nossa morte.
Stop fascist Russia! What they need to do, they do Ukraine will fight! Ukraine! Reaching out to every single friend that I still have left. Stop Putin now! Stop Putin now!
Beyond World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.
Okay,
That was,
thank you,
that was
Mark.
literally from all over the world.
Thank you for showing it. Okay.
And on that note, we're getting ready to get on out of here. But it's been a great discussion, and we're getting ready to get on out of here. And we'll come with more conversations on world politics later. And I've got to get ready to deal with Kwanzaa. And if you want to come down and celebrate peace and all along those lines, Kwanzaa is actually all around a peace message. So, Sasha, if you can get on your private plane, or Rick, if you can jump in from California, we will gladly welcome you if you're willing to come to Durham, North Carolina today and everything. I know the chances of having are dim to none, but hopefully you can join and maybe even join us virtually.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
No problem.